So you can stop moving and still not be resting because sometimes what looks like rest, lying on the sofa, scrolling, zoning out, is really just our nervous system in freeze mode. And rest isn't about doing nothing. It's about giving your body what it's truly asking for. So the reason I'm making this one is I woke up this morning, I felt so exhausted and I realized that my body needed a slower day. Um, and I noticed the difference between being tired and being depleted. So yes, I was tired because I needed some rest, but I wasn't like emotionally drained, if you see what I mean. But also I was thinking about how when we rest often, and this happens to me, and it's happened to me in the past. I do it less now than I used to because I'm getting better at switching off. But when I rest, my mind would still be active. So I would look like I was resting, but my mind would be trying to solve all the problems that I need to do. And I particularly did this when I was running a property development business and I had a long list of things I had to organise, and my brain would constantly be thinking about what I needed to do, what I needed to get, who I needed to organise, who I needed to manage. And I was never switching it off. And it was very, very tiring. And my old pattern would have been to just push through that. I'm getting more and more tired because I was labeling that as laziness, even though I'm sitting there thinking about stuff. And I'm learning to listen to my body. So when I'm tired, I rest. And that's the kind of like the whole point of the journey. And today, one of the things I realized I didn't need to stop everything, which is why I'm still able to do this. I just needed to do some things that were going to replenish me, that were going to give me a bit of joy and energy back and be able to carry on. So I've eaten a really nice hearty breakfast as well, which helps. Sometimes your body needs more fuel as well. So I've had a nice, something really nourishing, but more filling than maybe a light breakfast that I would normally have. So it's important to know that rest and replenishment, they're not the same things. So rest can mean stopping activity. That can be like last week when I was actually not well, and I needed to just stop doing anything. And it was just like my body just needed to give up because it was exhausted and it wasn't well. And so then it needed rest. And rest is what we need. We need to sleep. We need to rest and recover and do nothing. And replenishment is more about refilling our energy. So we come back into feeling that energized state. And it doesn't necessarily mean you do nothing. And I've talked a lot about in the past about active recovery, active rest. And I have mentioned before that I'm an Arsenal fan. So I really studied football. And actually, I trained as a yoga sports coach and I specialised in football, or some of you may call it soccer, but in England we call it football. And I trained in actually basically working with footballers and their energy levels and using yoga as a form of active recovery. Because now they used to, if you went back, say, to the 70s, they would play a match and the next day they would just rest and do nothing. Whereas now, actually, what they'll do is go into training and do an active recovery session. So they may do yoga, or they may do some light stretching or some gentle exercises that are going to allow them to recover without just doing nothing. And it's important to remember that when you do that, when you don't do the active recovery, if you just rest, if you just do nothing, you can actually stop all day and still feel tired because you haven't given your system what it actually needs, because you haven't replenished it. You've just done nothing. And although that kind of thing you think, oh, that would help, it doesn't always recover you in the same way. So there are 5 types of rest you can look at. And one is the physical rest. So one is when we lie down, do a little bit of stretching or sleep, when we just allow our bodies to rest. And there's sensory rest. So this can be when we sit in silence, we maybe dim lights, have no screens. So we allow ourselves to go within and we cut the sensory input down a lot. And then there's emotional rest. So this might be space from people or drama. So I've been sharing with you quite a bit about my journey in discovering my neurodivergence and understanding that. And I do believe that part of my tiredness today is I've been doing a lot online, a lot of interacting, a lot of talking, a lot of putting myself out there. And my body needed a little bit of time to kind of withdraw emotionally from other people. And then there's creative rest. So this is where you might have inspiration without outputs. You're not needing to create something. And you may still create something, okay? Because I know I have a wonderful friend on school who creates art as a way to kind of regulate her nervous system to recover. And she does a beautiful job with it. And That's her way of using creativity to rest, but it might be listening to music, it might be spending time in nature, and that's going to give you a different kind of rest. And then there's spiritual rest, where you might come into prayer or meditation and connect with that higher knowing. And when you're tired, it's always worth asking yourself, your mind, your body, what type of rest it is your body's craving, instead of assuming it's just sleep, because that's what we normally think. When we feel tired, we think, oh, I need to sleep. But actually, do you need to sleep, or is there another form of activity or rest or recovery that you actually are craving, and that you can start to understand what it is that you need to give your body? Because if, for example, you're craving reduction in sensory input, but you use your rest time, you sit and watch programs on TV, you may not be giving yourself the rest that you actually need. And so it's tuning in to figure out what that is. And listening before you crash. So your nervous system will give you early cues. So headaches, irritability, zoning out. So example, I had a headache last night. And it came on in the evening, and I was feeling really drained and tired, and I had this headache come on, and I thought, oh, I'm going to go to bed early anyway and get some sleep, and when I wake up in the morning, I'll be fine. Anyway, I woke up this morning, and I still had a headache, and I was like, oh my goodness, it's lasted all night. It's very rare. I don't think I've ever had that happen to me before. And so I was really like, okay, I think my brain is tired. It needs a little bit of a rest. So I'm kind of like doing the bare minimum today and just keeping my hand in stuff, but not pushing myself beyond what I can cope with. And just remembering that when you honour that kind of like first whisper of tiredness, of recovery, what you need, you prevent that full shutdown, you prevent that burnout, and you prevent that full overwhelm as well. And you can do, and we can do this together, a replenishment check-in where you tune into your body and figure out what it is that you actually need. So it's like a body check. So wherever you are, if you're able to do this while you're watching, hopefully you're not doing anything that's going to involve like driving, machinery, operating, or hard stuff that's going to fall over. So ideally, if you're going to do this, you're somewhere nice and quiet that you can sit down and just close your eyes. Okay. And just deep breathe in through the nose and out through the mouth. Just allowing your system to quiet, and inhaling again. And exhale, sigh the breath away. So now just tuning into the body, tuning into how you feel right now, and ask your body, what kind of rest do I need right now? Is it physical, sensory, emotional, creative, or spiritual? And let the first thing that arises be your answer. Don't overthink it. Just allow what comes to come. And then give yourself 5 minutes to honour that today. So come back into the room with me. And that's how you turn rest into something replenishing and recovering, by actually listening to what it is that your body needs rather than just presuming that you know. And allowing that inner wisdom to come through and to guide you. And just know that you don't need to crash to take a break. Okay, you can take a break before then. The body will whisper to you what it needs long before it's shouting, I can't carry on. So it will be giving you hints all the way along. It's about tuning into that. And remembering that rest isn't necessarily about stopping, it's about receiving. So it's about, what do you actually need? And maybe you only need 10 minutes sat in a quiet room, and that's going to help to recover you. And it's about understanding what's right for you. So if this resonates with you, I'd love to invite you to come and join me inside my free group, The Sacred Pause. And it's where we explore nervous system regulation, rhythm, inner calm, and the connection to the mind, the body, and the spirit. So you can live replenished and not just rested. So I'll see you then. I'll put the link in the description.